to remove the style, titles and honours of Prince Andrew.
The 4 children of Queen Elizabeth, all born princes and
The most profound and revealing aspect of the recent developments concerning Prince Andrew is not merely the logistical fact that he has been compelled to vacate the Royal Lodge. While the eviction itself is a major headline, the true story lies in the specific location chosen for his internal exile, Wood Farm Cottage. This relocation serves as a stark physical manifestation of his catastrophic fall from grace. As Andrew's public approval ratings continue to plummet to historic lows, forcing King Charles to take decisive action, one must ask if this banishment is truly sufficient. However, the destination itself offers a grim answer. Wood Farm is widely regarded as one of the most quietly unsettling properties within the royal portfolio. Historically, it has functioned not as a home of celebration, but as a secluded retreat used to tuck away family members who have become awkward, inconvenient, or simply too difficult to manage in the public eye. It is a place for those the monarchy wishes to keep invisible. The nature of Andrew's departure from the Royal Lodge further underscores this humiliation. It was not the dignified, gradual transition one might expect for a man who has lived on the estate for decades. Instead, the exit was shocking in its abruptness. According to multiple reports, the move was executed under the cover of darkness, a stealthy operation designed to avoid scrutiny. There were no farewell dinners, no gathering of staff to say goodbye, and no ceremonial leaving of the keys. One evening, he was the master of the Grand Windsor Great Park property, a sprawling residence where he had raised his 2 daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, and entertained high society friends for years. By the next morning, he was simply gone. The swiftness of this exit stands in devastating contrast to the life he leaves behind. For 30 rooms and 98 acres to be abandoned so suddenly suggests a collapse of status that is total and absolute. Until the very moment of his departure, Andrew had been sharing this grandeur with his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson. Their living situation at Royal Lodge had long been a subject of public fascination, described by insiders as unique, cordial, and deeply affectionate despite their divorce. That domestic stability has now been shattered. By moving Andrew to Wood Farm, a property synonymous with royal solitude and the containment of problematic relatives, the king has signalled the end of an era. The Duke of York has been stripped of the fortress that protected his privacy and projected his status. He has been moved from the centre of the Windsor family stage to the wings hidden away in a cottage that has always served as the monarchy's quiet solution for its most uncomfortable problems. The darkness under which he left Royal Lodge serves as a fitting metaphor for his new reality. Obscure, silent and far removed from the light of royal favour.
And the King has stated that Buckingham Palace is ready to support the police as they look into allegations regarding.
For years, Sarah Ferguson famously characterised her relationship with Prince Andrew as being the happiest divorced couple in the world. Despite their high-profile separation in the early 90s, they maintained an unconventional domestic partnership, continuing to live together under the same roof at Royal Lodge. While this arrangement often puzzled outsiders and raised eyebrows among the public, the royal family quietly tolerated the anomaly for decades. However, that reservoir of patience finally ran dry. By the end of last year, internal tension at the palace had escalated to a critical tipping point. Reports indicate that Andrew was desperate to cling to his tenure at the lodge, hoping to delay the inevitable. But his hopes were dashed when he was explicitly informed that the status quo was no longer sustainable. The directive to vacate is widely understood to have originated directly from King Charles III. Since taking the throne, the king has been systematically working to insulate the institution from his brother, creating a necessary distance between the crown and the scandal-plagued duke. Watch this.
Demanding to know how long he had known about Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein. Have a listen.
Charles, how long have you known about Andrew and Epstein?
Although Andrew has consistently denied any wrongdoing, and the palace has repeatedly stressed his status as a private citizen, his eviction from Royal Lodge represents a significant escalation in royal strategy. This move was never just about public relations, it was a definitive assertion of control over royal assets and a redrawing of the family's internal boundaries. Royal Lodge is a potent symbol, a 30-room mansion in Windsor Great Park that was formerly the beloved home of the Queen Mother. When Andrew took over the lease in the early 2000s, pouring millions into renovations, it signalled his enduring proximity to the crown's heart. Consequently, stripping him of this residence was an undeniable public demotion. His new destination, Wood Farm Cottage on the remote Sandringham estate, offers a jarring contrast. While it is a pleasant 5-bedroom property with sea views, within royal circles it is viewed as a secluded outpost for those pushed to the periphery. It is a setting both Andrew and Sarah Ferguson know well, but one that now cements their distance from the centre of power.
Pair who knew of Epstein's vile activities, yet continued to grow their relationship with him. So much of the communication that we've read is after he was convicted on some really serious and ugly.
In fact, Wood Farm is not merely a retirement cottage, it is inextricably linked to some of the most uncomfortable and scandalous chapters in Andrew and Sarah's shared history. To understand the weight of this move, one must look back to August 1992, just months after the couple had announced their formal separation. It was then that photographs emerged which caused a media firestorm and shook the monarchy to its foundations. Sarah Ferguson was captured on holiday in the south of France with her American financial advisor John Bryan. The intrusive telephoto lens caught intimate moments of her reclining on a deck chair while Bryan appeared to kiss and suck her toes. The reaction from the establishment was immediate, fierce, and unforgiving. Prince Philip in particular was reportedly livid. He viewed the photographs not just as an embarrassment, but as a direct humiliation of his son and the institution he served. Consequently, Sarah found herself ostracized. When the traditional Christmas celebrations at Sandringham approached later that year, she was effectively barred from the main house. However, for the sake of the children, a frosty compromise was reached. Sarah was permitted to stay at Wood Farm Cottage with her young daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. During the day, the girls would travel to the big house to celebrate with the Queen and the rest of the family, leaving their mother behind at the cottage. Even then, over 30 years ago, Wood Farm functioned as a form of royal purgatory, close enough to be monitored, yet far enough away to remain unseen. But the property's role as a sanctuary for the sideline goes back much further than the tabloid scandals of the 90s. Wood Farm is deeply connected to one of the most quietly tragic stories in the House of Windsor's history, the life of Prince John. Born in July 1905, John was the sixth and youngest child of King George V and Queen Mary. From a very early age, it became apparent that Johnny, as he was known, was different from his siblings. Family letters described him as delicate and slow to learn. By the age of 4, serious concerns were raised about his development, and in 1909, he suffered his first epileptic seizure. As he grew older, his condition deteriorated significantly. Modern historians and medical experts now believe that in addition to severe epilepsy, Prince John may have been on the autism spectrum, a condition that was neither understood nor diagnosed in the Edwardian era. In his earliest years, John was occasionally seen in public, appearing in photographs with his brothers and sister and participating in minor official events. However, the royal family's approach to his condition was one of concealment. He was notably absent from his parents' coronation in 1911, and by 1913 his public life had effectively ceased. No official portraits were commissioned after that point, marking the beginning of his erasure from the public consciousness, and his eventual isolation at the very cottage where Prince Andrew now resides. Instead of continuing in the public eye, Prince John was quietly removed from the royal stage. He was sent to live at Wood Farm Cottage under the devoted care of his nanny, Charlotte Bill, known affectionately within the family as Lala. There, he lived a sheltered existence far removed from the pressures of London, the rigidity of court life, and the prying eyes of the press. According to royal biographer Dennis Judd, Prince John became a satellite figure, operating his own small, isolated household on the edge of the Sandringham estate. Despite the seclusion, he found joy in simple pleasures. He kept a flock of chickens, spent his days outdoors, and received regular visits from his grandmother, Queen Alexandra, who reportedly had a special garden planted just for him. For the royal family, Wood Farm served as a practical solution. It allowed Prince John to be cared for privately, shielding him, and the monarchy, from the scrutiny that accompanied his condition. To the outside world, however, he largely disappeared. Christmas Day 1918 would prove to be his last. He spent the day with his family at the big house Sandringham, joining in the festivities before being driven back to the solitude of Wood Farm that evening. Less than a month later, on January 18th, 1919, he died in his sleep, after suffering a severe seizure. He was just 13 years old. Newspapers at the time reported his death with reverence and restraint, with one article describing his face as bearing an angelic smile. It was only then that his epilepsy was mentioned publicly for the first time. Through a modern lens, the decision to isolate a young boy at Wood Farm appears incredibly harsh. However, experts explain that attitudes towards epilepsy in the early 20th century were vastly different. According to the British Epilepsy Society, people with the condition were often removed from society and treated as if they were mentally ill. Families, including the royals, believed they were acting in the best interests of both the individual and the community by hiding them away. Despite these melancholy associations, Wood Farm later evolved into a cherished retreat for Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. According to royal biographer Robert Jobson, the Queen loved the cottage for its informality. She was known to cook meals herself and even wash the dishes during her stays. Staff did not wear traditional uniforms, and the rigid hierarchy of Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle was abandoned. It was a place where the royals could be almost normal. This history of relaxed simplicity makes Prince Andrew's current residence there feel particularly awkward. One friend reportedly stated that Andrew found the move deeply humiliating. Royal Lodge had been his fortress for decades, a grand estate filled with family memories and the trappings of status. Leaving it quietly at night allowed him to avoid the cameras, but it could not protect him from the emotional weight of his displacement. Furthermore, his arrival at Sandringham has reportedly been met with resistance. Royal household staff have been assured they are not required to serve him if they feel uncomfortable, and sources suggest several have already declined. There are also reports that many of Andrew's long-serving Windsor staff will not be relocating to Norfolk, refusing to continue under the new circumstances. Andrew may soon find himself with minimal support, isolated in a way he has never experienced. What is clear is that Andrew's world has become dramatically smaller. Each move, from the grandeur of Royal Lodge to the isolation of Wood Farm, and potentially soon to the even smaller Marsh Farm, places him further from the centre of royal life and deeper into the margins. Wood Farm has long been a place where the family's uncomfortable chapters are quietly written. It housed a forgotten prince, sheltered an embarrassed duchess, and now serves as a refuge for a man who was once at the heart of the monarchy. So here is the question I leave you with. Do you think this is truly just a temporary stop? Or once Andrew settles into the quiet obscurity of Wood Farm, will history quietly repeat itself? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to stay up to date on the latest developments, make sure you're subscribed.